Born Primitive Outdoor is proud to partner with Montana Knife Company, Marsupial Gear, Evolution Outdoors, Sheep Feet, and Capture Gear. Thanks for tuning in, and thanks to our sponsors. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Born Primitive Outdoor podcast. Today, I have the great Nick Mundt on the podcast. Dude, you have been in the business for a very long time. It's good to have you on.
Well, thanks, man. I don't know about great. I think just normal is a little better.
You've been in this industry a long time, though. How long have you? I'm trying to think. 28 years. How long have you been in outdoor?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, I think about 95. I kind of started getting into it guiding, and then moved on to Realtree and then the Bone Collector. So, whatever that is, about 30 years on the button now.
Yeah. So you, pretty much everybody knows who you are, but you started way back in the day filming, didn't you? And then you got involved with, or how did that work to get involved with like the Realtree, the road trips, Bone Collector stuff?
Well, so I was guiding in Wyoming at 7J Outfitters, and Realtree had heard about us. We kind of, Northeast Wyoming was a kind of a pretty well kept secret, and nobody was really whitetail hunting there, and the numbers were good. They were really nice, mature, quite a few nice mature bucks. And so we asked Realtree if they wanted to come and do a show, and that's where I met, David Blanton. I was guiding him, and then the very first day that he and I were together, in the middle of the day, those days are long out there, so you hunt mornings and afternoons. And so I just showed him a bunch of my footage that I had been videoing at that time. I had a camera. Not many people were videoing like that. And so I just videoed everything and showed him some of the hunts I had videoed. And then, long story short, he asked me to come and work for them. And so I did. And then that's how I met Michael. And we worked together there at Realtree for almost 10 years. And then we got road trips started in that time. And then as Michael's personality grew, it didn't make sense to work for Realtree anymore. He needed to get out on his own to maximize, rather than being an employee. He needed to start his own. So he just came to me one day and said, "Hey man, it's time for us to spread our wings. Let's start our own brand and do a TV show and, just kind of get the ball rolling." So we did that along with T-Bone, and that's kind of how we got Bone Collector started. And now it's been, we're getting ready to start filming our 18th or 19th season now. I think this season right now is season 18, and we're getting ready to start filming for 19.
Yeah. How much, kind of broad question, but this is something that pops up on my end, marketing, like, how much the game has changed back in the day. So from back in the day, right? So TV shows and magazines were kind of it. And then forums and then social media. How much has that changed for obviously you, Michael, in general? Like, how much has that changed, and how much have you guys had to evolve from starting out just having a show?
Yeah, man, it's evolved a lot. When I first started at Realtree, there were only 3 or 4 outdoor shows, and they were all on the Nashville network. And then the Nashville network sold, and most of those outdoor TV shows went to ESPN2. Then the outdoor channel really started gaining momentum. It was the biggest thing. There at that time there wasn't much going on the internet. You really only had one outlet for people who wanted to watch hunting and fishing, and that was the outdoor channel. There were a few other networks like Versus and a couple other networks that did like Saturday, Sunday deals. Fox Sports North up here in my country was one of them. They did Saturday and Sunday hunting and fishing, regional type shows, regional personalities. But once, we got some momentum with the outdoor channel, man, it just exploded. And all your best TV shows. And I still think today that the best hunting and fishing shows are on the outdoor channel. There's a few exceptions out there. There's some guys doing some pretty cool stuff on YouTube. But I think as a whole, even still today, on the Outdoor Channel and the Outdoor Channel's app, which is called My Outdoor TV, it's $10 a month. I just think the best hunting and fishing shows are still there. But as, digital platforms have evolved, we've had to change a lot too. We're still pretty lucky because we're, in the top percentage of the shows on the Outdoor Channel, which is still watched very heavily. But the app has really gained a lot of ground, and there's still a lot of people that don't know about the app. But the YouTube presence, the social media stuff, we've had to shift gears and move to that a bunch because there is a lot of digital stuff. And, the younger generation, they're pretty much getting all their stuff digitally, where, I'm 52. The people my age and a little older and a little younger are still watching it on TV, and they're still turning to the Outdoor Channel new shows. But I think as your younger generation gets up, you're going to have to evolve to the digital side for sure, because that's totally where it's going. So we've done a bunch of that. We've got a lot of stuff on YouTube, and we've really tried to help promote that Outdoor Channel app, because I don't think people realize that you can go on the Outdoor Channel app, and all the shows that are on there, you can watch every season like ours. You can watch first show of season 1 all the way up to the show that aired last week on the app. So it's a pretty good platform that people are just starting to realize now. But yeah, things have evolved a lot. We've had to evolve along with it, and it hasn't been easy for us, but luckily we've got some good young guys working for us that are helping us navigate. So
yeah, because back in the day it was kind of you guys in Primos, and I'm saying that you and I aren't very, I guess 3 years apart, well, not very far apart in age, but so like back then it was DVDs, and so like that was the Road Trip and the Bone Collector, and then you just had a stack of DVDs when you wanted to watch hunting shows. And for me, it was pretty much you guys in Primos was what you had available, where you went to Sportsman's Warehouse or Cabela or wherever you got them. And
right,
now not that YouTube's bad, good, whatever, but you definitely a lot of people have went to YouTube, but also just the marketing in general, how social media has become really powerful. And I don't think a lot of people realize on TV shows, like for hunting shows, for the most part, you have to pay the network, to be on TV. They don't pay you. And do you want to explain that a little bit? Like, I don't think a lot of people know how that world works.
Yeah. So you buy your programming. So, some shows produce 13 episodes or 10 episodes, and they'll run half of the year. We're on year round. We produce 20 new episodes, and then they rerun. We do basically first quarter, I think we do 12, something like that. First and second quarter, we do like 12 new shows. And then in third quarter, we run the new shows in third quarter. And then we mix a little bit of the better end of our first and second quarter shows in. So then, third and fourth quarter, you're getting some new ones, and then you're getting kind of reruns of the first two. But yeah, you have to buy your airtime, and then, hopefully you can sell your sponsorships to offset your airtime and make a little bit of money. And, luckily for us on our side of it too, we've got, we're a licensing company. So when you go into Walmart or Bass Pro Shops, you're going to see our calls. We make our own calls as far as manufacturing, but a lot of the other companies that we have are just licensing deals. So same with the NFL, NHL, Realtree, it's a licensing company. So basically you sell the rights to use your marks on those products. And so we have a lot of companies that we work with that produce some kind of a bone collector model, whether it be an arrow or a bow sight or a bow or a pair of boots or clothing. We work with those companies to help promote their company and, partner with us to co-brand these products to get better movement at retail. So that's kind of how it all works.
Yeah. It's can kind of be, I've never been involved with it, thank God, as much as you have, but it can be kind of a pain in the ass. Has making your love for the outdoors and passion into a job has it taken a toll, or have you been able to keep it fresh and alive and not get burnt out?
No, man, I don't ever get burnt out on the hunting side of things. I mean, I truly, man, I swear I'm the first one up in the morning, and I just love it. I'm depressed when hunting season gets over. Now, the work side of it for me is, we do a lot of appearances. We speak at conservation banquets. We do trade shows. Stuff like that is the work, where you got to be away from home. You put your game face on and go out and shake hands with people and meet people, and it's fun. But it is, that's what I consider the work side of it. Most of luckily what I get to do being on the road is hunting. So in the spring we do turkey hunting and bear hunting, and then in the fall, basically start August 15th and go all the way into January. And that's a really busy time of year, but for me, it's not, I love it. I mean, that's why I do it. Ever since I was a little kid, I just loved animals and I loved getting my hands on them. And I wanted to be a veterinarian when I grew up, but I wasn't smart enough at school and I wasn't very good at math. So I figured rather than fix animals, I was just going to shoot them and get my hands on them, so
you got to pick your
luckily
battles.
For me.
Yeah.
Yeah. So luckily for me, I was able to get into guiding and then get into filming, and then now be in a position where, I get to run the bow or the gun, and man, it's a dream come true. And I just love it so much. I just can't wait for hunting season to start every year, and I'm depressed when it's over. So, the work side of it is definitely the trade shows and the speaking engagements, and they're not bad. I don't hate them. But I just don't get out of bed for it as easily as I do for the hunting side of things,
Yep. No, I get it for sure. And then you recently started working with Jack Links on kind of promoting, the jerky side, the outdoor side of things. What's going on with that?
Yeah. So Jack Links, basically got their start in this space. The Link boys, they're all big hunters, grew up in Wisconsin, hunting and fishing and just living the outdoor lifestyle like all of us. And as the company grew, I wouldn't say that they left the hunting space, but they concentrated more on the mainstream. And so now really giving back to the outdoors is just a huge passion of theirs. So giving to the conservation organizations, and really letting people know that Jack Links is a mainstream company, but unlike a lot of mainstream companies that don't support hunting, they're out there supporting hunters and fishermen and really putting their money where their mouth is as far as that support. And so, basically my job is to just let everybody know that when you're on your way to go out on that hunt and fishing trip and you stop by the convenience store in the morning, and people have probably heard me say this, I keep kind of preaching it, but support the people that support us and buying Jack Links when you go out. Good, healthy snacks, meat, and just a great company, great people that support the outdoors. So that's kind of where we're at with it. And so I'm doing a bunch of hunting episodes, and we're promoting heavily on social media, and we got a bunch of stuff getting ready to come to my YouTube page. Some of the adventures that we have, the long versions, a lot of the short versions we're showing on social medias, but the long versions will be coming to YouTube, to my Nick Mundt page on YouTube and on my socials, so Jack Links is a great company supporting the outdoors.
Yeah. And I don't think a lot of people probably know, Troy, who obviously I'm friends with Troy. I say obviously, but I'm friends with Troy, great dude that probably realize how much Troy, one, hunts, and two, what they donate into the outdoor space, and probably don't get enough credit for what they're doing or whatever. So I'm a huge, proponent, of Jack Links just in general. Plus I got to hang out with, Troy, on the side of a mountain for a couple weeks and got to know him really well. And you would never know that guy, has the money that he has. You know what I mean? And people say that all the time, but he's a wealthy individual, but he's just a goofy fucker that talks shit just like everyone else. I mean, I can't remember. He called me a gorilla in about the first 15 minutes of landing, on the getting out of the Super Cub. Can't remember. I didn't even put any bug spray on, and he was like, "Those bugs not bugging you, you big fucking gorilla," or something. And just like a normal dude, right? I mean, you never in a million years would know the position he's in, and so I can't speak highly enough about Troy as well as the company. It's a great company. So
yeah, just great people, totally normal. His dad's just an awesome guy. Got to spend several trips I've gotten to spend with his dad Jack, and they're just great. They're just great people, great family people. And man, they love hunting, hunting and fishing, to be honest. And they go over and above, So like the last couple of years, we've auctioned off. Troy has given a hunt at his place down in Florida to the National Wild Turkey Federation. So we've auctioned it off to hunt with Waddell and myself. And we've raised close to $100,000 just in 2 years on that hunt. So, and it all goes to the National Wild Turkey Federation. And then, Troy's big in the Ducks Unlimited and in the Total Archery Challenge. You see them; they're big in NASCAR. This past year, they really took a big space, in NASCAR, and so they're doing a lot of great things for outdoor enthusiasts and great people.
Yeah, I don't think he'll mind me talking about that hunt specifically, but we were on a stone sheep hunt together, and he brought his daughter, like on a real 14-day backpack stone sheep hunt. She's 11, and man, it's amazing being able, she made it every step of the way, ended up killing 2 giant rams, and having the daughter there. It was an amazing trip, and he was calm the whole way with his kid. He was very, very patient, and it was a pretty, and I don't know if he told you about that hunt at all, but it was pretty amazing being able to take an 11-year-old on a legit, no bullshit, backpack stone sheep hunt. That was with North River, but Bart and I, were with Troy and his daughter and Justin, and it was an amazing trip. And I got to know Troy really well during that time. And now, we speak somewhat frequently on the phone, but again, a great company. And I don't know, there's not another company selling jerky that does what they do for the outdoor industry. So when you're at the gas station, buy Jack Links, don't buy some other shit.
Well, and there's one thing that's cool about that too, as you've done a lot of guiding, and I've done a lot of guiding and hunting with different people, and you might not get to see Troy, much over the next few years, but those 14 days that you spent together in the backcountry, from the moment you get out of your sleeping bag till the moment you get back in it, you really get to know somebody and you build a bond, and those bonds are special, and they last a lifetime, literally. Like, I can remember guys that I've hunted with over the years that I haven't seen since, but when we reach out to each other on social media or send a text every once in a while, that guy, and you get to kind of know his quirks and his personality and his temperament. And I think that's the great thing about hunting and fishing is, even though you're not best buddies with somebody or you don't get to be around them, you really get to delve into their personality, and you get to see who they are, spending all that quality time. And by the time it's all over, man, you've made a friend for life. And to me, that's what a hunting is. And, trophy quality is cool. I like to kill as big animal as I can on every hunt, but more importantly, literally, Waddell reiterates this a lot, and we say it a lot, but the companions that you have with you and the time shared in camp is really, it's cliche, but it's really what it's all about. And making memories with people far out does the trophy. Now, is that the icing on the cake? Yeah. And do you remember that big trophy you shot? Yeah, you do. But really what you get out of it is those friendships that you make over the years. And that's what it's all about for me. I love it from the travel, being in camp with the friends, and then to harvest something at the end is great. But the friendships and all the memories that you make with those people is what it's truly about.
Yeah, no, I agree. And not to pump Troy's leg more, but Troy, he's the kind of guy, he messages me. It's not like I'm pestering him. He'll message me to check in. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
It's not a one way, yep. Hey bud, you know what I mean? Like the other day, he's like, hey man, haven't heard from you. You doing all right? What's going on? So yeah, super, super good dude. But we're talking about the hunting side of things, trophy hunting. You've been able to hunt just about, everything. And you probably are much like me. I don't really pay attention to forums anymore, but I am a gear guy, so I do answer a lot of gear questions. Do you pay that much attention now to the wormhole of FOC, arrow weight, broadhead, fixed blade, light arrow, heavy arrow, speed? Have you, or do you just avoid that because you'll probably live longer if you do? Do you pay attention?
No. No, I get into it a little bit. I'm not T-Bone. T-Bone is kind of our bow guru. He's on the technical side of that. My passion is animals, and his is archery. The mechanics of it. But for me, I shoot the G5 Mega Meat. It's a 3-blade rear deploying expandable. I'm sure people have heard about it, but it literally is the most devastating broadhead I've ever shot. And I shot a lot of different ones over the years. I like to shoot a heavy arrow. Typically my arrows are 28 inches, shooting pretty heavy. I usually put a 75 to 100 grain insert. And so I think I'm shooting, 460 grains or something right around there. But I like the heavier arrow. It's slower, but man, it penetrates. And one year I was shooting an arrow and they didn't have inserts for them. They were a new arrow that came out and they didn't have inserts for them. And so I was just shooting the regular arrow, and man, I barely got any pass-throughs that year. But then when I switched and went back to a little bit heavier arrow, 100 grains more, just the penetration is huge. And then things like when you're shooting through, not that I shoot through brush, but if there ever is a time when you got leaves and stuff and you're blowing through leaves, if they're right on the front side of a deer or an elk, makes a big difference. So I tend to lean toward a little bit heavier arrow with rear deploying expandable. And really the reason that I like that is because then I can typically shoot my field points are just about exactly like my broadhead or real close. And it's just easier to shoot into a target, doesn't tear up targets, because if you're shooting fixed blade broadheads, they obviously shoot different than a field point. So you got to practice with them. They tear up targets and tear up arrows and makes it a little tougher that way. So I do like for that. And then wind resistance is big too. So if you're hunting out west and you're making 50, 60, 70 yard shots, you got a 12, 14 mile an hour crosswind. A fixed blade definitely sucks up more wind than your fixed blades where your blades are a little closer, a little tighter hidden, So that's kind of my reasoning for all that. But I don't get into the technical. I'm not like you. I don't go out and buy 5 broadheads and test them. And I know you're big into that.
Yeah, I test. Okay. I mean, T-Bone and I get along really well. We have a lot of the same thought process, but, we kind of came up at the same time and same whatever. It's weird. Not weird. I'm more like you. I'm 475 is usually what my arrow weighs, and I shoot 75 pounds. Sometimes I'll shoot more than that. And, I'm 280 feet per second. And, I would consider that like moderate weight nowadays. Like you said heavy. And then you get guys now that are crazy heavy. What I would consider crazy heavy, but that 460 to 500, 460 to 490, has always been like a sweet spot for me for tuning, bow noise. I mean, this is obviously on averages, but tuning, bow noise, penetration, it's kind of the best of all worlds, to me. And, when I'm shooting a stick bow, I got way more pass-throughs shooting a heavier arrow. And you kind of have to shoot, you can't, technology is not going to help you with a stick bow. So shooting a fixed blade broadhead, I got far more pass-throughs with a stick bow than I did my compound, even at 80, 85 pounds. It's not like I had issues with penetration. It just was like I got more pass-throughs with a heavy arrow and a fixed blade. But, people really dive down a rabbit hole, probably unneeded in my opinion, because, you can really boggle your mind a lot when guys will send me 7 different arrow setups varying in 15 grains per arrow setup. So 450, 465, 475, 480, 495, different point weights, FOC. And I'm like, man, I have never put that much effort into an arrow setup in my life. As much as I test, right? I when I mean broadheads, I generally just throw 175 up front, 300 spine arrow, cut her down to 27 and let her rip, within reason. Obviously there's tuning involved in that, but I would say people pay a lot more attention to that rather than the fundamentals of maybe archery and hunting and animal behavior and anatomy, and maybe pay more attention to specs than they probably should pay more attention in accuracy and shooting fundamentals. What are your thoughts on that?
Man, yeah, I just have never, I've never been into the game of, a few grains here and there. And my biggest thing was always just hit them in the right spot, and it really doesn't matter what broadhead or arrow you're using. That's why I like that mega meat. It's devastating what it does. So if you do make a little bit of a bad shot, shoot a little bit far back, or there's that point on the shoulder. That I don't care what you're shooting. If you hit that point on the shoulder where that knuckle is, you're not going to get through it. But all the way around it, if you're shooting a good broadhead with a big cut, it gives you a little bit of room of forgiveness. If you shoot a little bit far back, you get liver or guts. It's going to definitely help you. But I just have never gotten into getting 4 different weight arrows and putting different broadheads on them and all that. I just have been successful with shooting, like you say, a 280 feet per second arrow. I think slower and accurate is better than super fast and less forgiving. So that's just kind of what I've always thought of it. And again, like I said, I'm not a tech person when it comes to my arrows. I just like to get my hands on the animal, and T-Bone sets me up, and he's done a great job. So I just go with what he says.
You'll probably live longer. Well, but you've shot just about everything. So, I mean, you've shot moose with that setup. You've shot caribou, elk. I mean, you've shot pretty much everything in North America, haven't you? More or less, anyway.
Same exact arrow for everything I do. I don't switch anything. Bears, deer, moose, everything. And I've had good luck, even like on the moose, I don't get 100% pass-throughs, but on the bulls that I've shot with my bow, I've gotten my broadhead just sticking out the other side. So, I mean, that's good enough. It goes all the way through and gets stuck on the hide on the backside, just poking out barely. So, man, that's about all you need, really. It would be nice to blow one completely through one day. I have on elk quite a few times, but moose is a pretty big critter.
Yeah, that is a fact. And I've got a course. We've got like a survival hunting camp that different ones throughout the course of the year, and I've got one starting today. And we've got different instructors, and every instructor, we don't all agree. Not meaning we fight, but everybody's got different ways to skin a cat, which is what I prefer. Sure. when you're teaching. And so I'm kind of the same way with arrows to a point, or bow setups, is like, look, if you're a speed freak and that's in your DNA, you're not going to change the stripes on a zebra, then you should focus on making that the most efficient bow. I'm not going to talk you out of that, I guess is what I'm saying, nor do I want to, right? I'm going to give you my quick opinion and my thoughts behind it, but you're going to find guys that shoot 80 pounds with a 420 grain arrow that are very lethal humans. You're going to find guys shooting 525 grains at 260 feet per second that are just as lethal. So to say one's wrong and one is right is bullshit, right? I mean, there are levels where you probably want to stop. You don't want to go too light or too heavy. Reality is to shoot what's the most comfortable and probably pick one arrow, buy a bunch of them, and then hide your freaking phone and stop looking at the internet and go hunting, because that's where people get in trouble.
That's for sure, man. But some guys are tweakers too. They like to tweak on stuff and tinker around and get different results. But I mean, for me, it's just put it in there and I hope he gets close enough for a shot.
Yeah. Well, you got to have. I mean, I'm all for. I'm one of those guys that'll tweak with stuff. It's just year in and year out, I shoot 175 grains up front with a 300 spine, cut to 27 inches, plus or minus a little. And I hunt everything with that arrow. I don't change for antelope because they're faster, or whitetail. I just shoot the same thing. But it is good to have the guys that tweak stuff, because people can, look at that or whatever. I think what the most important thing is, though, is a 465 or a 485 grain arrow not really going to make a big difference. 14 to 15% FOC, really just hit the animal as accurate as you possibly can, and whatever arrow it takes to do that with confidence is probably what you should, run with, I guess. And you've probably shot the same setup for 20, 30 years. I mean, almost the whole time.
Yeah, that's the setup I've used. I mean, it's been good for me. And one of the things that I really did that I think people should do is just increase your range. And now that doesn't mean shooting at animals far out, when you're in the field, but instead of walking out of your house and shooting 10 arrows at 20, 30, 40 yards, get dialed so you can shoot well at a target, 80, 70, 60, 50. And then when you walk out of your house to go shoot, start at 50 and shoot at 50. And then, when you get into your tree stand and that buck comes at 33 yards, he looks pretty close and you can make a good shot on him. And, it's been quite a while now, I guess, but there was a definite time in my career where a 50-yard shot on a deer went from being, man, that's just too far, to being, I hope he makes it to 50. So I've shot a lot of animals at 50, 60 yards now. And my confidence level from extending my range in practice has really turned the corner for me on that. And so even like when I'm elk hunting, get to the edge of a meadow or in some of those cedar thickets where it's, you got a 70-yard lane, most of that stuff's 20, 30, 40 yards. It's so thick in there. If you see him, you're going to be able to make the shot. But then you'll get into those couple spots where it's 60, 70 yards across and you think he's going to walk out there. And if you got a second to range him and get your 60-yard pin, because I have extended my range, in practice. And I just think it helps so much, especially, when you got a deer at, obviously at 17 yards, that it tends to be a fairly, easy shot, you would think. But sometimes when a deer's standing there at 35, especially whitetail hunting, man, that looks like a long way, and so when you extend your range, you can definitely make those into an easier shot for you.
Yeah. And I the extending the range thing is one thing that people always take out of context, because it doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be winging arrows at 80, 90 yards. It certainly makes closer shots easier. The other thing too is follow-ups. It is nice to be able to, that same trip with Troy, I had shot a mountain goat, and I had, with mountain goats and cliffs or whatever, I'm proponent of empty the quiver until they're not moving, for the most part, right? I've seen too many animals lost by not putting a follow-up shot. And so, I was launching a couple 130-yard bombs, but hitting the goat effectively. And is that, would I launch the first arrow that far? Of course not, but it was nice, because when they get in the cliffs, sometimes they're not coming out, or they'll fall off, for 2,000 feet or whatever. And so, I've seen elk hit, spine shocked, guys walking up to it, elk stands up, runs off. There's all kinds of things that happen. And so I'm very much a proponent of, empty the quiver if needed. And that sounds probably worse than it should, but you don't want them to get away because you're a dumbass. So, nothing wrong with launching a little more carbon.
Yeah, and I've found out a few times over the years that, when you get into that situation and you got an arrow in one and you're sneaking through the woods and all of a sudden you come up on him and all you can see is his butt sticking out from behind the tree, and you're thinking, okay, he's going to take a step right or left, and you're going to wait for him to get out so you can get one in his rib cage. You just got to get another one into him. And, it doesn't sound the best, but once you've got one in them, you want to get them. So anytime you got a shot, you got to take it, and whatever part of the body you can see at the moment, especially if he's already got one in him, you got to let it rip. To me, I mean, I've had a few get away over the years that weren't hit lethally, but hit high and tracked them through the woods, and then all of a sudden come around, and you can see them, just part of them sticking out from behind a tree. And I was waiting to get that perfect shot, and then something happened and I didn't get the shot, and then they got away, and I was just, tried to get another one into them somewhere. And maybe that doesn't sound like an ethical thing to do, but I think once you've got an arrow in one of them, you gotta get them, so. No,
I mean, I think whoever think that's unethical probably hasn't hunted enough, personally, because it's already wounded, right? And so, it's not, if it's already wounded, right, it's only going to be suffering. So putting more arrows into it's only going to be better. There's a lot of vital shit. Like the ass has a big femoral artery coming up it, that'll get her done. The Texas heart shot, get her done too, and so I'm always like, yes, just get more arrows in them.
I've had a few long years that the animal moved, on the shot they moved, and I shot a lot of animals, and there's a small handful on one hand that I can say that have moved, and I got them, and they do not go far. That's for sure.
Yeah, it's just, and that's one of the things, like when you talk about that mega meat, it's like shooting something with a 223 compared to a 338 Lapua. Yeah. Damage is good, man. Damage is good.
Yeah,
like more trauma.
You purge that pressurized system, and it's over fast.
And I did a video a long time ago with a 3D target, and it was almost like, talking about premarital sex to your kids, right? I'm like, hey, look, I'm not telling you to take these shots. I'm just telling you, if you do, what's going to happen, right? What angle, what does what you're hitting, and at any angle. And that doesn't mean you necessarily aim there, animals spin or whatever else. And learning the anatomy of an animal is huge when you come to knowing what to do after you hit it, is as much as anything else. Meaning, there's guys that I'll see with, I will take a heavy quartering 2 shot in an elk or frontal all day long, closer up. I'll split the shoulder and the neck. I'll do it on whitetails, frontal. Love the frontal shot, no issue. Where people get in trouble, slightly quartering, and then they try to sneak it behind the shoulder. That is not good. Like you don't want that shot. It sounds like you're in the same kind of opinion on that.
Yeah. I've shot quite a few whitetails that were quartered too. Like you said, just stick it in between the shoulder and the neck there, and you got just a few inches is all you got to get in, and you got the heart, and take the top of the heart right off. I've done that a bunch. I've never shot a bull elk that came straight into me. In between the front shoulders. I've never done that, but I would in a heartbeat. If I got I've never had a big bull do that, a shooter bull. So if I have a big shooter bull and he comes straight into me and he's under, 25 and in, I'm going to shoot him just straight at the top of his brisket. And I'm 100% confident in that shot myself. I mean, even better if he's quartering a little bit, just take it right in there. I just think about, I've quartered so many of them that when they're down on the ground and you lift the leg up to take off that front shoulder, to stick it right in where you put your knife up around the front of that shoulder, and man, you got them. I mean, just almost almost can't get away from you at that point.
Yeah, and I've definitely, there's been multiple page threads on what an unethical piece of shit I am on archery talk and whatever other for shooting a frontal or a quartering 2 shot. The last really big bull I killed was like a 17-yard frontal. It was actually funny. 2 weeks before that, I'd made a post on where to aim, and I showed it what you said right above the brisket. And my, they're like, "What if you're low?" And I said, "Well, more than most likely, the elk may duck a little." So that gives me leeway for the ducking, and you've got a pretty good gap in there. And lo and behold, 2 weeks later, I don't know what that bull scored. Isn't it 350s? It's a good bull, public land bull, and buried it up to the knock and just blood trail Stevie Wonder could follow. I mean, it's just devastating. And when people get kind of Twitter pated about the cornering too, if you've ever quartered an animal out, the front shoulder about falls off. Right? It's not a lot of shit going on there to get through that shoulder neck area. Like you said, right, when you go to cut it in that armpit or whatever you want to call it, it doesn't take a lot to get through there. I mean, if you're shooting a bison, it's a little different, but I killed a bison on a frontal charging at 40 with a stick bow. DOA. Yeah. And I think people, not to go down the rabbit hole here, but people get really, with the heavy arrow weight and everything else, they really focus on one very small portion of the front shoulder, which you're not going through. And with the heavy weight, and I'm like, maybe 1 in 1,000, somebody might crack that knuckle or whatever. Getting through the thinner part of the scap on some animals isn't a big deal, but you look at the percentages, and the rest of the body is what you have a much higher percentage of hitting than you do that scap. And then when you look at the frontal shot, really, if you missed, God forbid you're off a little bit, it's not going to be an animal that's wounded and dies. It's going to recover fine. And I've definitely gotten beaten up about that a little bit. But I'm like, on the frontal, if you miss, you're just going to hit some meat and bone. And the animal, believe me, they take far more abuse when they fight. Not that you want to wound an animal, but you can have some problems on a broadside shot hitting stomach. And with the frontal, kind of all or nothing. So,
yep, I totally agree with that, 100%.
Yeah, well, we'll both end up on a hate page now.
Yeah, I'm sure.
When you, when you're doing, your season, or when you're figuring out your schedule for the season, how much is this now dictated between Bone Collector, you, Jack Links? Like, how much of a epic pain in the ass is that scheduling for the season? Is that as nightmare as it sounds, or not too bad?
No, not too bad. I've got we do 20 episodes for Bone Collector, so we basically sit down and go through what we want to do, and then I've got just a lot of friends that have places to hunt and outfitters that I've been in business with for years. So I have a booking agency, I book hunt, so I work with a lot of outfitters. So it's not that bad of a deal, really. Just kind of go over things with Michael, and we see what we're going to do for Bone Collector, and then I put together a certain package for the Jack Link stuff, and it's just pretty easy. Been doing it a long time, so it comes real easy.
And then, is that season, are you starting pretty much August 1st or August 15th time frame, depending upon if you're going up in the North Country or Antelope, and then goes all the way through to like December?
Yep. So I start in Wyoming August 15th at 7G Outfitters for antelope, and then I'm going to Utah on a archery mule deer hunt, and then that'll take me right through the 1st of September. Second week in September, we typically go to Utah to R&K. We usually take some of our partners there, and then go over to the Deseret from there, and then 1st of October hunt New Mexico. It's a rifle season, but we'll bow hunt. And then go to Missouri for deer, and then I got an Iowa tag, so I'll bounce around in Iowa a little bit, middle to the end of October, and then do Oklahoma, Nebraska, Texas, hoping to get to Ohio this year, and then that should take me right through November, and then December, possibly a little bit in Texas, and then January will be in Mississippi at Giles Island, but kind of December's kind of open that way. If I have to go anywhere and finish up a hunt, I can do that. Or even find, a couple spots that are still open, some of the later season stuff.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, with, like you said, that for me is the non-stressful. I mean, I agree with you. The season is when I'm happy. And then show season is, when I'm, what's my girlfriend call me? A fuddy-duddy. I don't deal well with large groups of people, so that's when, it's a little bit harder for me, for that. And I don't have nearly as bad as you, but like that 5, 6, 7 months, including Outdad or whatever else, that's when I'm happy.
Yeah, me too, man. I love that side of it. And, I love the people too. I love talking to people and seeing their pictures and BSing at the shows and seeing people that you've met, a few years ago. And so that's, the show side of it is fun as well. But definitely the hunting is what drives me. I didn't get into this business to be famous or anything like that. I just love hunting so much that I just felt like, oh my gosh, what a blessing to get to do what I love to do and make a living where I can be at home with my kids and have a good time, seeing the country when I'm hunting. So it's been great.
Heck yeah. Well, I don't want to wrap you up all morning. Where can people, find you, the bone collector stuff, the jack-o'-lantern stuff? Where can people look, see some of the videos and content you're putting out?
Yeah. So most of my social medias are just Nick Mundt, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter are Nick Mundt, and TikTok as well. And then I've got a website. It's nickmundt.com. I'm selling hunts on there. If you're looking for any kind of adventure, you can reach out to me. And then I also got my real estate license. So if anybody's looking to buy or sell property, I'm working all across the country with Whitetail Properties, and we do, we're representing buyers and sellers. And so if a guy's looking for a ranch in Kansas or elk hunting ranch in Montana, get a hold of me. We can facilitate all of that. Just check me out on social medias, and then I have a YouTube page that I'm working on a little bit. It's pretty easy to find as well, Nick Mundt, and just all my stuff is pretty much Nick Mundt across social platforms. We've got a lot of cool products on the Bone Collector website, bonecollector.com, and Waddell's even got a new podcast that he started too. So maybe look at that too. If people are into podcasts, check out Waddell's new podcast. He's just got that fired up, so that should be pretty entertaining. But
he is a
kind of considering starting to. Yeah, he's cool, man. He's one of the best guys and funny, and we always have a lot of fun. So I'm thinking about maybe starting a podcast myself. Everybody else has got one, so I think maybe I'll do one too. But just know a lot of good, interesting people. I think that would be fun to sit down and have on. So.
Heck yeah. No. Well,
we'll see where that goes.
That would be awesome. Yeah. I mean, you got a lot of cool stories to tell. Again, there's not, that many years in the industry, not just hunting, but hunting, guiding, filming, TV, everything else. Lot of stories to tell. So.
Cool. Well, I hope to get to share camp with you sometime, man. That'd be a lot of fun.
Yeah. We'll have to figure out something. Maybe we can get Troy out and wrestle with him at the same time. I think I owe him a wrestling match last time when he was drinking. He said he wanted to wrestle. I'm just kidding. He didn't say so. Well, dude,
I'm not a wrestler. I'm a basketball player. So,
well, there you go. That's funny. But dude, I appreciate you coming on. And again, obviously, thanks for everything you've done for the industry. And then, as well, the Jack Links thing. Make sure everybody buy Jack Links jerky. Troy's an awesome guy. Same with his dad. And then you and what Waddell and T-Bone have done is pretty amazing. So,
can you still hear me?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Okay. Sorry, I thought I lost you there for a second. But
I was just.
No, thanks for having me.
Yeah,
thanks for having me, man. I really appreciate you.
No, go ahead. I'm interrupting. I think we have a bad contact.
Okay. Yeah, I was just going to say, I really appreciate you having me on, and I love everything you do. I know your gear is helped a lot of people through the years, and I think that's super cool. And I know Troy just said you were a great guy to be around and a tough son of a gun, and I like that. You know, somebody that's mentally and physically tough goes a long ways when it comes to being, you know, in the backcountry and getting the job done as far as a hunter. But not only that, but just making it pleasant and then getting out of there alive with a big pack on your back. So I got a lot of respect for you there, man.
I appreciate that. Well, thanks again for coming on, everything you do. And we'll probably have this out in the next week or two, man. So yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I appreciate you, man. Have a great one and good luck this season.
All right. Sounds good. Take it easy.
Yep.